Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the rationalinvestor.com. I almost got myself there. .com's morning show, our daily brief show here for last week of October. We're finally getting through October. Usually the first couple of weeks of November, see an uppy market, but we'll see how it goes. Stock markets are trying to find a bottom. Bitcoin pulling back a little bit here, but actually, if we look at the price charts, I think this kind of makes sense what we're seeing. But nonetheless, we'll get to that in a moment. It is Monday morning, 29th of October. Hope you're all doing well. I see that relatively muted participation here this morning on the site. And I'm sure that a lot of people sort of woke up this morning and saw the price was down on Bitcoin and we're like, fudge. So I can understand maybe a little bit of PMA is needed here this morning as well. So usually, well, not usually, but, we're kind of in transition right now. We had our sort of TRI team meeting this morning and lots of stuff on the go. We're trying to get the marketing arm of the site up and running. And actually, our plan is to actually take this daily brief offering public, to see if we can sort of drive public interest in the site. So be aware that that's sort of what the plan is going forward. As well too, we're very fortunate. We've got the mayor of Vienna here on a regular basis driving the bus for us, so it keeps me honest. How you doing this morning, Alex?
I'm pretty good, Brian. How are you?
Excellent, thank you. It's, I think, going to be just Brian on his own this morning. We did tentatively have a presentation plan for the community, but I am noticing that people that are sort of tentatively booking presentations are backing out at the last moment. So, and I can understand, given the broader market sort of malaise right now, especially within crypto, that it's going to be tough for us to stay focused here. But as a community, let's try and just, stick to what we said we were going to do. So we did have a public presentation planned here this morning on security, but the person who was going to do that presentation decided to sleep in this morning. So nonetheless, that we'll put that on hold for today. So it's just going to be Brian here and the mayor guiding you through the market here this morning. We can always, as sort of we do on this site, and I'm going to, probably kind of like broiler chicken Z, although I do have Alex here to sort of keep me on the straight and narrow, maybe just do a little sort of free form this morning. But we can always start off. And actually, one thing I really like to do is to sort of start off with, I built this grid, and it actually is very helpful to sort of just get an overview of the entire market. We can basically see everything that's going on. And one thing I noticed this morning that kind of jumped out at me, obviously, when I loaded up the screen, oh boy, Bitcoin and crypto finally came alive there after a very long consolidation. We'll talk a little bit more about that in earnest down the road. One thing that did jump out at me watching this sort of broader market through the weekend, the Brazilians just had their election. And if I understand correctly, the gentleman who won his election was a bit more of a conservative. I think, if anything, if I'm not mistaken, he did like a prayer just before taking the oath of office. So it gives you sort of an idea of what we can expect out of Brazil going forward. And the only reason why I sort of mention it in earnest is you can see, I don't have the chart. Actually, I should probably include sort of a click full screen kind of button. I think there is a way to do that, but I just haven't done it right now. But you can see that the Brazilian real has had one hell of a rally here. So probably a bit of buy the rumor, sell the news scenario. For TRIers, I don't know whether we're going to be trading Brazilian real, but, by all means, I know, like Bobo's here. He's big on the options. We could maybe do a little bit of shopping in that space going forward. But the one market that actually did catch my attention there, of course, hopefully you guys saw, was I think it's BR. Nope, Brazilian Real futures. Oh, they're both BRs. Not odd. So, there is the Brazilian Real. Hopefully everybody sees the very noticeable double bottom here. And as I'm sort of saying here, I think this is kind of like a, buy the rumor, sell the news scenario. I don't necessarily have a top here on the Real, but a market that did sort of catch my attention that I know a lot of TRIers are following closely is coffee. You'll notice that coffee also has had one hell of a jump here heading into that political event. And so if anything, what I wouldn't mind doing, and, I'll be reviewing this with the alum and current level 3ers will probably watch this as the term goes by, is are there any put options that maybe we might want to consider here? TRI SOFs, you can see the big old gap on the chart here. So I'm going to be looking into this through the day. Bobo, if anything, I know Raf was super jazzed about sugar. Sugar had one hell of a jump there. And same sort of thing. Is there, like the March sugar contract, usually it's the next sort of big one that you trade. So what does it look like? And are there any opportunities for put options there? So I'm going to be closely watching those markets. I'm quite interested in the fact, looks like the grains are getting hit pretty hard here. You can see oats. I love using oats as sort of our leading indicator. But I do remember that we've been talking recently about things like soybeans what is it? ZS, one exclamation mark. And, I'm going to be watching for the ETFs to see whether, for my retirement account kind of idea, whether I can sneak in and grab some soybean exposure. But we're basically into the fall harvest. You can see the key lows here. I'm going to be watching for a nice little reload zone down in this area here. It's basically business as usual for TRIers. And if we get any sort of signs of bottomings down in here, I'm going to be really closely watching and see if I can strap on a soybean position. So those are, I like to just simply load the deck first thing in the morning and just see what the market's sort of presenting us. Do we have any W's to work with? You remember swing traders? We left last week thinking about potential bottoms. Actually, this is not the one I want. Where did that chart go? Fudge, hope I didn't lose it. Well, I guess this is it. Okay. We left off, and I think I talked to you guys about this on broiler chickens. It is a big risk to take buying way up here and having to risk down in here. I really like the idea, like if we change this to a line chart, hunting the W and trading that. And I had suggested that, if you wanted to join me in the broiler chicken show yesterday, just work your bids down in those areas. And sure enough, basically we got a pullback. This is a 4-hour chart overnight into that level. So I think the crude oil long trade is working now. And also too, what I've noticed is on the stock market, remember we talked about this last week. Are we going to actually start to see these divergences? And I think I talked about this on the broiler chicken show as well. These divergences start to fire. I think we're still a little bit early for that ultimate bottom in the stock market. And, for us to fully know that we've turned the corner, we've got to see all these divergences start to actually confirm. So usually what I found is that energy prices and the stock market move kind of in unison. So we'll keep an eye on that. But it is interesting too You've heard me talk lots about how I like when energy is rallying, metals prices should be soft. And frankly speaking, I look at this gold chart and this looks a little bit nosebleedy to me now. I don't know whether a swing actually set up here. In fact, I can just simply tell you there is no swing set up for me here yet. But we often talk about the fact that the market loves to put in its pivots through Tuesday, Wednesday, London kill zones. So I wouldn't be surprised if just to do a little adjustment here. I wouldn't be surprised if we actually get some sort of counter, kind of like what I had sort of showed here. I wouldn't be surprised into sort of that Tuesday, Wednesday kill zone. Maybe it's going to look like that now. I don't know. We get a nice little counter trend rally. They left a big old wick up here. So if we can get a nice little double top that forms up in this wick, I think actually there's a trade to consider here. Unfortunately, Willie isn't stupid anymore. This divergence play is playing itself out. We might just get a quick dump here. And if that's the case, well, then, it just goes by. But if anything, what I'm seeing here looking kind of toppy and looking kind of heavy, it kind of helps the long scenario in crude, in my opinion. I also like, when I was looking at the grid here this morning, I noticed that natural gas works as an excellent sort of leading indicator in this space. I noticed the natural gas here, it was coming off right out of the gate last night, even though crude was up a little bit initially. But then you can see that the natural gas weakness, these are 4-hour charts through the evening and early Monday morning, it eventually sort of pulled crude and Brent down with it. And I noticed that natural gas is catching a bid here this morning through the New York session. And as a result, the energy markets are a little bit happier. So really cool to see how natural gas is acting as a bit of a leading indicator here. I think as you can kind of see, like triple bottomy kind of idea, you can see the triple toppy here in the gold market. The silver market, interestingly enough, it actually did paint a really cool top. And interestingly enough, it almost looks to me like silver is leading gold right now. So if we look at the 4-hour chart on silver, you can actually see it was quite a polite little toppy top that it put in up there. And it's just slowly working its way lower highs and lower lows, defines a bear, blah, blah, blah. If anything, probably what we, good old Dav being the silver bull, right? I don't think it should surprise anybody. Gee whiz, we ran into resistance up top here. And if you're thinking about where silver probably ought to bottom, I'm sort of thinking, good old reload zones, probably somewhere down there. And, you've heard Brian talk lots about cat gifts, ping pong, all that kind of stuff. Looks like there's a cheeky little gap here on the silver market right down there at 14.5 area. And that would also be A, B, C, D. In fact, this is a really, really good example. The level oneers just did their Fibs module talking about retracements and extensions. And ideally, what I'd love to see you guys leave the program with is this sort of mental thought that extensions will take the market into reload zones. That's absolutely the best application of this concept. And my hunch is this is probably like a 113 of this range. Let's see what we get here. Extensions. There we go. Yep. So basically there is 113. There is the AB equals CD target that would fill in the gap. And in essence, and the level oneers, right, these extension target zones, if you can get the extension to line up with a reload zone, becomes extremely powerful. As well, too, we've talked lots about trap bulls and trap bears recently. So hopefully everybody can see all the trap bears, right? This market opened up here, actually went down. Somebody was selling, sell. And then they got the market quickly whipshot back up. And so there's a whole bunch of trapped bears right in this tail here. we get price to come down into that area, can you see how they're basically, that gives them the opportunity to get out of that losing trade? So it wouldn't surprise me if we find some support down in this area as well. The last thing, I suppose, well, not last thing, there's a couple things that we should talk about here when we're looking at the metals. The first, of course, is what does the gold and silver stocks themselves tell us? And I always like to listen to them because they're excellent. You know, who better to know what the sort of state of the business is than the people that are in the business? And if anything, you know, not a bad idea. Hopefully everybody can you see the M up here? Actually, it's not even really that well defined. But you could even argue that this is a cheeky little head and shoulders too, right? Boom, 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 boom. Right? I don't know whether you can see that fractal top there. But yeah, I think it made sense to maybe just sort of cool your jets when you saw that sort of price action up there. The market has now come back down into support. And so really, if anything, I'm kind of thinking now we have this even bigger head and shoulders. And really, I think this actually makes a lot of sense now, because we're going to be coming up into the election. The election is right here. And so quite literally, this is setting up. Either we're going to moonshot up into this area. There's the 200-period moving average way up there. So, I mean, we could very easily on some sort of insane election night chaos rally up into that area. But if we rally up into here and then start showing signs of failure, you can all see head and shoulders. And the worst part about this, and I've seen this happen, and I saw this just on the silver chart we saw a moment ago, technically this is a V bottom. So really what that means is trendline support is actually down here, and that would basically be that head and shoulders. And you kind of see that it's almost like, I don't know whether we can do that or not. That's not bad. It's almost like this is like a fulcrum, right? So stiff resistance to the upside, support to the downside. And everybody should, if you want a fun assignment, go back and look at what gold did through the last U.S. election. And what was really interesting, and we should keep an eye on this because the market might give us this opportunity. In the last election, you notice that there's this gap up here, right? Here, why don't we do that as a line? This is the gold and silver stocks. And of course, horizontal support and resistance. So obviously that's a pretty important level right there. Gee whiz, what a same level. There's the 200-period moving average. If we do a reload zone up here to here, just really simple. My hunch is that also represents a shorting window. Fib-wise, if we do get this pop up into this area through that election event, then I think that guys like Druckenmiller are going to come out and they're going to just hit this thing hard. And that's sort of my fun little assignment for you is, Bobo, I want you to give me us a report on what Mr. Druckenmiller did through the last U.S. election. You up for the challenge? So we'll see how this goes. Only time will tell. It's interesting to see that the gold stocks have basically come back to a buying window. But at the same time, too, this is a V bottom. So if we lose these levels, look out below. Really, you know, from trading wise, this almost looks like a coin toss, both directions. Not really the kind of trade I like. But nonetheless, we'll keep an eye on the gold and silver. I suppose the last thing we should probably look at is what's the old US dollar doing. We still have this AB equals CD working. So again, also that commentary of heading into the election. How does this AB equals CD play out coming up against this very noticeable trend line? And significant resistance in here. We might actually find, and really, you know, I think this is probably going to be sort of our tell. If the US dollar does break higher here, then that, unfortunately, I think that is problematic for that gold chart. Maybe that head and shoulders plays itself out. If we start rolling over here and breaking in earnest, then that probably helps your gold trade. Unfortunately, I can't really give you much more commentary than that. This is a PRZ. So let's watch how the US dollar acts into this event, and of course, all around the US election. We have a big fundamental event coming up here. So as a result, probably most of us should probably just cool our jets, let the election happen, and let's hunt sort of formations and stuff on the other side of this. Because I have a feeling it's just kind of like what we just saw with Bitcoin today. There's going to be an injection of some serious volatility in the market. And if the Republicans win, we're probably going to see all the old trends that we're rocking and rolling, oil up, stocks up, right? US dollar down, bonds, interest rates heading higher. All of those old trends instantly re-exert themselves. If, however, there's a big political shift in out of Washington, and they need to rearrange the players, the seats at the table, blah, 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 then we probably might see the US dollar actually take off here, and all those, those potentials, the gold breakdown, the stocks continue head lower, bonds continue up, yada, yada, yada. Okay, wow, that sure was a mouthful, and it really didn't take us anywhere. I apologize, guys. Kind of, like I said, I'm sort of free styling this morning. I don't know whether it was actually specifically a euro issue or not, but I did see that the Europeans came out with a comment about crypto this morning and Bitcoin. Does anybody, while you guys are sitting and listening to me, and I think actually, and I just noticed he joined the group here, so this is kind of cool. Is there anybody that can go and find that European, I don't know whether it's the European Union or somebody in Europe made a big decision about Bitcoin overnight. Did any of you guys see that? I just saw a couple quick tweets about it this morning. I had a TRI team meeting, so I really wasn't focused too much on reading the news, but I did see something to that effect. So I don't know whether that really makes any difference with regard to the euro. We kind of like what I saw on that gold. Can you kind of see that same sort of pattern in the euro here? And, very simply put, they say that the euro is sort of the risk on proxy, global growth, all that kind of conversation. If the US dollar is going apeshit higher, then that's not good for global growth. And it's not good for emerging markets and stuff like that. Hey, there you go. Way to go, Brian. Hey, that Brian Beamish guy, man, he sure is helpful. What's really cool is he actually does like research on Twitter and online and stuff and finds us the links and is talking at the same time. I don't know how he does that. He's a beast. I'm just playing. That's obviously the mayor, right? Of Vienna, but he doesn't like to be too public. So anyway. Okay, I could see a lot of similarities with this euro chart and that gold chart. They kind of look familiar. If, U.S. elections go U.S. dollar bearish and people feel as though not so hawkish on trade and all that kind of stuff, and, maybe we'll go back to sort of business as usual. I think this thing stabilizes, turns back up, and, your gold bugs and all that kind of stuff can get rah bull again. However, at the present, there is no reason for us to be hunting longs here just yet. I think you got to let this thing develop just a bit more before you start getting rah bull there. And that's kind of the same thing as the gold, right? They're very similar. Maybe gold's trying to find some sort of low in here and pivot back up. But, considering how I'm feeling about crude and considering, where we are on this price chart, horrible place to be a buyer right now, I think. If you are bullish and you're hunting bullish bots, okay, well, I think maybe we might, yeah, but see, the problem here is that these didn't even do 33%, So I don't even know whether I can be hunting bullish bots here yet. Oh, yeah, close, but not quite. And then on this move, nah, not quite. So I can't even be hunting bullish bots here yet. Got to let this thing settle. And frankly speaking, I think the message has got to be that we got to wait for this election to get out of the way before we make any sort of big decisions here. Okay, so as I mentioned just a moment ago, it was great to see that we got Sjord on this Monday call. He likes to do just a little site update for us. These guys are working so hard to get this new website up and running and all the sort of affiliate and marketing machines and all that stuff going as well. Sjord's working diligently on getting the screeners up and running. Doesn't look like we have anything to report this morning. And as well, we've got, he and I are working on getting this crypto portfolio to actually be properly reporting our balances and stuff. But that's not what I wanted. Where is the, do we have the page? Oh, what am I missing? Oh, here it is, crypto portfolio up here. Yeah. So, this is 56,000, but, we just did the accounting over the weekend. Julian asked for an update. And we're sitting at about 225, 230 with Bitcoin coming off here a bit this morning. We're probably closer to 210. So Sjord and I are continually working away on trying to crisp this up as well. So lots on the go, but we do have them here this morning. Mr. Sjord, would you like to give the good people a sort of update on how the site is going?
Yeah, sure. Especially taking off the garbage bags for you of the Lego City.
Oh, hey, look at that. Yay, they're back out. Yay. Well, is it nighttime there for you? Because Europe, you guys are in a different time. Something.
Yeah, right? Yeah, we're a lot closer to your time zone now.
Oh, okay. They officially moved the whole damn continent over one time slot?
Yeah, basically.
All right. So, yeah, and that's probably an update for all our European viewers. We go through this shift twice a year where because of the clock changes and they're sort of not synchronized, Europe is on slightly different time zone right now. And that sort of corrects itself in a week or two. And I'm not quite sure exactly when North America shifts back, but shifts our clock. I just don't have the number off the top of my head. But everybody in Europe and anybody who's affected by European time zone understand that things have slightly shifted here and they'll be slightly wonky. And if anything, it was really interesting. Side note, when I was prop trading, we used to actually pull back from the market through this window because things like European kill zones and stuff like that and closing event windows and everything's thrown out of whack for the next week or so. So just a side note, a lot of prop traders actually take this time off. But anyway, that's a groovy ass headset you got going there. What's on your mind this morning? What can you tell us about this site?
Yeah, so maybe a small update while you were chatting. I've ported over that multi-chart layout on a temporary .com URL.
Yeah, I kind of was hoping we could do that for the audience, and then that way they could have that. And it should be a relatively simple script to do. Where did that link go? I saw you posted it. Oh, there is that.
Yeah, I just ported it over, and the only change I made for now is that we include that JavaScript only once. But it is a kind of a memory hog, indeed. But at least we have it running on the .com website.
Is it a memory hog for TRI or just for your local computer?
Yeah, just for everyone's computer and phone.
Yeah, so my suggestion, if you do load this, is maybe do a peruse, right? Take a look at it. If your computer's pressed, you can even just maybe look at it like once a day. What's the market say? And hopefully all our sort of especially our level 3ers and veterans and stuff should look at this and go, oh, it looks like sugar and coffee actually should get our attention. Something's going on there. And maybe the grains here are getting awfully weak, kind of like what I did there this morning. But thank you, Stuart. Totally appreciate that. It makes it easier on us. So thank you. Appreciate that.
Furthermore, we upgraded Rocket Chat again. It's almost a weekly process now.
It has to happen a lot.
Yeah. But the reason that we upgraded was especially for the avatars. They made some changes to that, but it doesn't seem that the upgrade fixed the issue with being able to upload avatars. So we're going to file another bug report to get that resolved. And we worked a lot on screener improvements. Basically, we're rewriting the script that was calculating the divergences for us. Because as we noticed, it was a very basic version. So it was comparing slopes, basically the slope of an indicator against the slope of the price. And if these were opposites, we marked them as a divergence. But of course, as everyone knows, that doesn't include the actual confirmation of the divergence. So we're working away on that, and we hope to, actually, I hope to have that finished this week. It would be good to have some cool screeners made with that. Work towards the ultimate goal of having setups being posted instead of screener IDs. So we're working away on that and getting closer every day. Also did some small bug fixes.
Big bugs.
Big bugs, exactly, and bug foods. And I'm moving with Albert to the testing phase now of referrals. So the friend referral system and the partner referral system that will go live soon, together with functionality that we will enforce memberships. And what does that actually mean is that since we moved on to the new website, some people still are running on an incorrect membership at the moment. And we've created a page for that, and I will quickly show you the page so that when you get that this week or maybe next week, you know what's going on. So this is the page. And basically what it says is that you can review and confirm your membership or upgrade or change to a different membership if you want to. But more important is this sentence below, because we are aware that we have some issues since we ported over to the .com with the porting over the memberships, that if your membership is incorrect, you can create a ticket or reach out to Julian or me or Brian or whoever in the support channel and click on this button or link. And what that basically will do is that it will prevent that you don't have access anymore to the chat or to the website at all. And it gives us 72 hours to fix your membership. So you won't be locked out. Because else, if we wouldn't do that, then it would be hard to report in the support channel chat that you don't have access anymore, since you won't be able to have access to the chat anymore. So just wanted to give a heads up that if you get this screen all of a sudden, it is planned. And if there's any issue, please feel free to reach out to us. So that's basically what I wanted to update. One more big thing is that the .com website, we feel like it's stable enough now to be the primary website. So we're going to redirect the old .co website to the .com. If there's still content on the .co website that you feel like you are missing on the .com, also let us know, because it will go offline soon, and then you won't be able to use the resources on the old .co website. Yeah.
Okay, that's important. And also, too, I noticed we don't catch everything, and you guys as a community, you see stuff that maybe we let slip. So please, as Stuart said, if you happen to see something and you're like, hey, this was on the old site, but it's not here now, just, reach out to us. It's not intentional. We got like 25 different projects all going at once here. So it's, yeah. So, and the school videos, that was definitely, David mentioned that. That's been an issue with us. That's definitely a high priority for us, David. So thank you for mentioning that. And like Stuart said, we do have like a support room here. So if you do happen to see stuff that you would like to be brought to attention, just please fire it in here. Go for it. So thank you very much for that update. Appreciate the hard work. Stuart's just working like a dog here. So thank you so much, Stuart, for your continued dedication to TRI, making this an awesome place going forward.
Everything is awesome.
There you go. I suppose while we're giving shout out to Alex here, is doing an excellent job as TA for the level 1 program. He's also in the level 2, so he's doing great work. Of course, the mayor of Vienna he's got my back, is very, very helpful for me. Thank you very much, Alex. So, you know, I if I haven't said it recently, I'll say it again. I'm extremely privileged to be working with all of you. And just slow and steady wins the race. We'll get this thing rocking and rolling, you know, and giving you good tools that you can use on a daily basis shortly. Okay, so that's a little bit of site. We talked a little bit about stock market. Probably just finish off with, am I actually doing anything on the buy side in the stock market right now? Ideas that I'm chewing on. Still not totally convinced that the stock market is bottom, so I'm not ready to let go of my short proxy on the stock market just yet. And I do kind of mentally like to have this insurance policy just sitting there on the books. And I have been hearing people saying that there's still a little bit more downside that needs to happen here in the stock market. And as I said earlier, what we really want to see for us to know that the stock market has bottomed is we want to, oh, where the heck did it go? We want to see these divergences all confirmed. And it's interesting to see that through the day here, as the day has progressed, yeah, we jumped up on the open, but you can see some softness is coming back into tech again. So we'll see how we do through the end of the day, whether, and really technically speaking at this point, none of these divergences has actually fired yet. So I'm not totally ready to go rah-rah bull stock market. I am watching, and look at that, Amazon's just cratering right now, so making new lows. Facebook also looks like she's trying to make new lows. Interestingly enough, and I thought this was fascinating. You know, stock market opens up rah bull, but good old Boeing, who was actually leading the charge here recently, is actually leading the market down today. So try and figure that one out. If anything, this probably looks to me like to be a classic 38.2 rejection. Oh, yeah, look at that, eh? Such a great analogy of we got to wait for that 38.2 to resolve itself first before we start getting too bullish. So still not quite ready to get rah bull in the stock market, but, you know, I'm always interested in nibbling. And especially on VCIM names where we can try and get in where the directors are long. This Athabasca uranium still working a bid at 17. Was working a bid here at 2 bits. I don't know. I'm going to have to log on to my brokerage account and see whether I got any fills here this morning. You see it traded down to 25 cents. So if I'm lucky, I might have gotten a fill there, but there were quite a few people ahead of me at 25 cents. So I don't know whether I got a fill there. I'll probably give you an update there tomorrow on that bad boy. I bought a little bit of this Timberline here recently. It's moved up off of my buy level, but you can see lots of gaps in here. Probably going to be using the rest of tax loss selling season to form some sort of base here to get ready for next year. Orestone, same sort of thing. I want to get long off this double bottom, so just treading water. Shane's beer stocks, stubbornly strong. You can see where I want to be buying down against these lows. You can see where the reload zone is here. They may just leave me behind, but I got the bid working just in case. Same thing with our shipping stock, working a bit at the gap. Nothing really to do there. If anything, getting very, very interested in this BITX. Remember we talked about options to directors. Up top, they basically bringing the market back to fill in this gap. So any kind of bullish action down in here, I can start thinking about buying. So I may just report to you that I actually went and bought some of this over the next few days. Be prepared for that if you play the stock market. Other than that, I think that's probably all that I see at the moment in the stock market. Just sort of, you know, cool your jets. I do like the idea of energy just purely as a swing trade, and I do like the idea of the metals coming off here, but there really isn't a trade there per se for me just yet. Currencies, meh, just a bunch of wishy-washy right now. Lots of volatility, so not really anything setting up for me. And actually, one thing that did jump out at me, and I find this fascinating, is the Mexican peso is just getting its ass kicked here. I don't know whether you guys have heard, but there's supposed to be like a caravan of what the hell is the damn symbol? It's got some funny symbol. Where the hell was that? Mexican peso. It's got a M6. Oh, that's not so funny. It's pretty straightforward. M6 exclamation mark. It should be interesting to watch how this plays out because I don't know if any letters of the alphabet there. It's looking pretty heavy. And of course, we've got, if I understand correctly, there's like literally a caravan of people that are working their way up from Central America trying to storm the American border. I have no idea. But I did hear that there is quite a bit of wranglings going on at the Mexican-Honduras border. And also, too, I wonder whether the peso's weakness here might also be whoops, that's not what I wanted. Might also be related to the British, the Brazilian currency. Sort of, sell the news kind of scenario there. So interesting to see cute little tops coming in here on the Canadian dollar. Of course, we hopped off on that swing long. And as I said just a moment ago, I don't really have anything on the Kiwi or the Aussie right now because they're just sort of treading water. Okay, broader market. Let's get on to crypto. Crypto tastes great. Crypto. Can't wait. Okay, we've been watching this. Maybe we should update this. I never know whether these silly things save these charts or not, and I really don't want this to crash on me. Nope, that's not what I wanted. Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed. Let's see what happens. This thing might just blow up. I noticed that... oh, there you go. Now, I'm not quite sure what I've done now. Okay. Coinigy's frozen. Way to go, Brian. You blew up Coinigy. All right. Well, that didn't work very well. Let's pop on over here. Oh, Coinigy's toast. All right. Well, that didn't work at all. Is Coinigy even up right now? Maybe Coinigy's down. No, not getting anything there. Okay, I'm not quite sure what's going on with Coinigy, so I guess we'll have to leave that. But if we pop on over, good old crypto. And actually, I really like this chart. This chart, what do you guys think? Does it feel as though Chicago and the big boys are kind of taking over this market? Kind of feels like it to me. We've all been sort of lulled to sleep as we've been going through this narrow sideways channel that's basically been working. I mean, you could argue that this narrow sideways channel started right after the Phoenix nonsense. And I suppose in a weird sort of way, we're also sort of seeing, and really I wanted to put all these aside, but I guess I'll deal with that later. We're also seeing, how am I going to do this? All right, so, once upon a time, basically you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 trading days, basically what, I guess like 2 weeks we've just been going sideways. And of course, Mr. Bear's getting awfully bored, just sitting there not doing much and just sort of chopping back and forth. I think we had a bit of a resolution coming out of last night. Was it predicated on Brazil election? I don't know. I did notice, though, when I was looking up stuff this morning, and I think Mr. Habsburg found this. I did see news about Europeans feeling a little bit more sort of hawkish, negative. I don't know what the right term is about Bitcoin. And I saw that sort of Bitcoin broke on that event. But the interesting thing is that I think you can make the argument that we had this bear AB equals CD that actually fired here. It's been actually working away here, and really, I don't see any reason why this shouldn't play itself out. Now, keep in mind, these are the forwards, right? This is OKCoin. Things can get a little bit screwy here, no doubt about it. If we zoom on over to something like MEX, you can see that same, massive sort of channel kind of conversation. And, this is an hourly chart. You can see that narrow sideways channel that we just saw on OKCoin. Top of the channel, bottom of the channel. Oh, come on, you. Anyway, somewhere in there. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Hopefully everybody can understand. We've talked lots about this in the past. This is, and as I sort of showed you on that crypto chart, or the OKCoin chart, this is a fairly old sort of charting philosophy technique, the narrow sideways channel. And just simply put, if you wanted to trade the channel, especially, on MEX, because MEX had this nice railroad tracks lows here that they really tried to sort of solidify. I know there's lots of people that I used to trade with that would just simply go short. And I think we talked about this, but I think we actually talked about it on the long side. But in essence, we'll go short on a break of especially these candle body lows here. And their stop is simply going to be on the other side of this channel here. And, good old Brian, he loves to have like 3 lower highs to work stops against. So you can see 1 high, 2 highs, 3 highs. I don't know whether this is a higher high, 4 highs, 5 highs. So now you can see this market's got lots of sort of insulation so that the market can't get back up through here. If we start talking about letters of the alphabet, hopefully everybody sees this big, especially here. What are we supposed to be thinking if we ever see the market smiling at us? It took a while for the smile to actually fully register, but, basically breaking and then closing below these levels, I mean, really, that's a trader's trade. When you have all these solid highs to work your stops against, and you have a firm level to go short, well, that's not a bad trade idea. Yeah, this is pretty darn big M's, right? And who can finish this ends? The longer the channel, the bigger the move, the bigger the run, right? So that's a pretty big channel. So don't be so, it shouldn't surprise us that this is the other side of this. But, and even just looking at this MEX chart, now that we've broken through these lows, everybody should go, well, gee whiz, I can see if we just do these clotheslines, just really simple, AB, we don't necessarily have to go off that. We can go off of that high. It doesn't really matter. CD, somewhere in that area. My hunch is we're heading back into this support area down in here. And I seem to recall that we sort of talked about this with Thomas recently. Do you guys remember we talked about how there's this huge sort of hole in the profile here? And interestingly enough, if they just bring the market back down into these, horizontal support and resistance levels, hopefully everybody can see this, right? Level twoers, you should be practicing away at this. You can see how that happens to be right off of this sort of mini POC here. You could argue that there's actually, and actually the level twoers will be doing this next week, or next class. This is in essence like two profiles. This is what we call double distribution. And this should be a pivot, and this should be a pivot. And this, I suppose you could argue this is even triple distribution, where you actually have like three different little profiles, right? One profile there, one profile there, and one profile up here. And we used to always say that careful if the market ever gives you the finger. That's not good. In essence, what I'm thinking, and we used to on the site use this little icon of a heart. Is that this one? Yeah, here we are. And we used to call that MUOC, right? Big kiss. So, AB equals CDs. Horizontal support and resistance, volume profile, it looks pretty clear. This market wants to head back down. If we do reload zones, you can see, look at that. What do we call a setup where the market, the 78.6 lines up with previous market structure? Anybody ever heard us call that setup before? The shark. That's right. Maybe somebody can pop in the lounge and suggest to Mark that maybe he should be watching this daily brief right now. Somebody could do that. I would appreciate that. All right. So, I think that gives you a pretty good idea of where price is going. Now, this is what really interested me was if we go back to sort of like Chicago, and we say, okay, well, what, because no offense to the crypto community, but especially through this sort of consolidation period here, this feels like the big boys have officially taken over this market. And I know all the crypto enthusiasts are like, oh, no, man, that sucks. No way, man, crypto decentral, right? But I get the distinct impression that the higher-ups, the bigger boys, the institutional players, you guys all wanted the institutions to come in. Well, Merry Christmas, guys. I think they're here. And, of course, didn't we hear talk about this? Alex, didn't she say that this Bakkt exchange is basically going to go live this week?
No, they're not going to go live. They're not going to go live, but there was a rumor, I think it was spread on the 25th of October that they would get their futures approved some day this week.
Okay, so, I get the distinct impression that all they're doing is they're just backing price up into a buying window. And I think we all have to be cognizant and aware of the fact that this Chicago has left this island down here. This is technically still unfinished business. All right, so this Brian Beamish guy says launch is on the 12th of December.
Yeah, they're going to launch their product on the 12th of December, but they, I think they word got out that they might get their futures approved this week, so that's what's going to happen.
Brian loves Candle Body Lows as trade location. You see how well that worked there. Could we have another stab into that area? Sure. I also see this ABCD, which actually takes us down to this original trend line. And I could see some sort of fuckery, nice big ugly nasty candle, really freak the crypto kids out. Down into fill in this gap, but it's a trap. So, because of, especially when we look at and you don't really see it on this chart, I was kind of hoping that, look at that, Coinigy's still not happy, eh? All right, is Coinigy loading for you guys, or is it just me? Anyone? Anybody else having issues with Coinigy this morning? Working for me. Oh, okay. Thanks, Kevin. I don't. Works for me. All right, so both of you guys, eh? I don't know what I've done here. Maybe I should just, I haven't reloaded this page in forever, so maybe that's what I have to do. Anyway, I was kind of hoping I could show you that weekly chart, but oh well. What did I want to say here? Well, I wanted to show you that higher time frame chart, but I can't do that right now. You know, let's talk a little bit about trading ranges. You can see we've been sort of stuck in these sideways channels for quite some time. We're coming down right now and doing nothing more than just testing the bottom end of these ranges. I think I don't know whether it's really in our best interest to get too bearish until we actually lose these levels. And if you are thinking short, then I actually like the idea of, you know, if you want to on a clothesline basis, and then what you might see is the underside kiss, and it would be on sort of like a lower time frame divergence structure, kind of maybe a reload zone of that kiss, that's where you want to hit the short. Kind of like how we topped out here, we dumped, and you know, here is the market structure fail level. We dump, we come back up and underside kiss that level, and that's where you wanted to short that level. So I'm thinking if you are thinking of setting up short trades, you know, let the channel break, and then on that sort of, you know, if we break through, you know, like these lows, like this trend line low, if we break down through here, if you know, on MEX we lose these lows, break down through here, then it would be on the counter trend rally that I would be thinking about shorting and hitting the offer. I just don't know whether it's such a good idea to get too bearish ahead of this channel break, because like I said just a moment ago, I can't find the damn chart. I guess it was this one. Yeah. I'm still wondering whether this is a trap, right? Admiral Akbar. And interestingly enough, we're just sitting right on this trend line right now. So technically, we haven't even really broken this initial up support. Now, this is a potential trend line at best, because we don't have any structure to confirm. In fact, both of these are both potential trend lines. And what I tweeted out this morning, and what I could see eventually happening, is if we do happen to lose this area, then the purple wedge of death will actually become significant resistance going forward. And so if I was thinking about shorting, this is the market at which I want to be concentrating on the short. But I just don't see that yet. So yeah, kind of a nasty morning. We're working this smaller AB equals CDs to take us down into this area. That's happening as we speak. But I don't know whether I'm quite ready to start you know, higher time frame fails. These to me still look like lower time frame fails to me. So that's sort of what I see on Bitcoin right now. It's not overly helpful. I apologize, guys. I don't have a trade set up here per se. And if anything, what I'd like to see is a nice sort of bottoming actioning over the next few days into that sort of backed sort of event, looking for counter trend rallies back up top. And I could easily see they wash the shorts on this side, then they put in a bottom, and then they go wash, they wash the longs on this side with that dump, and then they put in a bottom, fill in this profile, and then they go and wash all the stops on the upside. And ironically enough, we're still, even though, yeah, we had like a $100, $200 break here today, we're still in this sort of trading range, this bigger range now. We've broken this smaller range, and now we're sort of playing in this bigger range. All right. All Probably the only other thing that, and I like to watch these sort of lower time frames. We talked lots about this narrow sideways channel. Remember, we were watching this off like a 15-minute chart. Really good example that, at some point these channels do come to an end. We talked about the longer the channel, the bigger the run. So we should actually expect a pretty nice deep dip here. It is interesting looking at this stamp chart, though. Did you guys see that there's actually a cheeky little gap right here? So kind of like what we did. And we can also put one there. Also looks like there's one here. So can you see how this is sort of the next key support line? Isn't that cool how that sets up like that? And then, of course, we hear Brian talk about candle body lows, right? So there's obviously a really important level. And what I'm really interested in is that low, railroad tracks, and those candle body lows. So I think actually we're getting a pretty good case to actually be hunting longs down in this level. Does that make sense, guys? Are you guys with me? Are you with me? Right. So if we zoom out on that chart, kind of like exactly what we did here, gap stop the bull, gap stop the bear, gap stop the bull, gap stop the bear, gap stop the bull, right? Boom, we finally lose that range. Where is our next sort of battle zone, gap-wise, candle body low-wise? And then I think, as we also said just a moment ago, probably I'm thinking 78.6 is somewhere right in this area. So on stamp, if we go like that, yep, there we go. So you can see 78.6 is right into those levels. So if you are hunting and thinking longs, we'll keep this chart on the screen. Let's keep a mindful, sort of close eye on what's happening through here. Okay, guys? Back to here. Well, we don't need that now, and we don't need that. Let's just, we will go clone, and here is our next cluster. Cluster resistance. Back to here. Why don't we say cluster resistance? Cluster support. And here is our next cluster support. All right, so if you want kind of a cool image for your journal today, what is Brian suggesting? That's what I'm thinking right now. Okay, now the only thing, well, and just sort of a dovetail to this, what are sort of the internals sort of suggesting? You can see on the LTC, longs getting a bit tired here on Litecoin. Shorts really haven't come back in earnest, which is interesting. Is this just nothing more than a technical pullback? We will see. Only time will tell. But it does look like the longs are getting tired there. Not really getting any clear message out of Ethereum's longs or shorts. And when's that? When was that? Was the Ethereum conference just this past weekend? Is it going on right now? Somebody can find me that when that Ethereum conference is going. I'm just gonna fill up my coffee here. Coffee, through the daily breeze. Anybody remember that? October 30th through November 2nd is what Alex says here. Interesting. If we, and not a bad idea, why don't we take a look at Ethereum in earnest, considering we are heading into this big event here. Let's go maybe something like that, and then something like that, and then we'll go maybe the daily and the weekly. You might also make an argument too, guys, and I don't know if this makes sense. Emerging markets. Has anybody been talking about emerging markets and the correlation with crypto? I did. Have you guys ever heard of Thomas Lee? You know, the little guy who's like, Bitcoin's going to 36,000 by the end of the year. Fun strat, right? That guy. He seems to like to make the argument that emerging markets and crypto seem to be correlated. So it's interesting that we loaded this chart with Mexican peso on it, you know, typical sort of emerging market kind of conversation. Maybe there is some correlation to this. I don't know. But we'll keep that in the back of our mind. If we go and look at good old Ethereum, considering they have their big event coming up, and this is kind of interesting too, because usually what ends up happening is the markets get bid up into these events, and then it becomes sort of by the rumor. Oh, we're all super excited. Vitalik's going to come out and reinvent the wheel. And we're all thankful that we bought our, cryptos or Ethereum ahead of the event. And then if Mr. Vitalik doesn't say anything earth-shattering, it becomes a, sell the news scenario. So, I think probably, hey, why don't we take a look at this MEX forwards contract? I know our resident bear here loves to watch these forwards. I don't know which one is a better data set. You can see obviously there isn't much weekly data here. Do we get a better data set if we look at 3-month forwards? There's 2 weeks, 3 months. Let's see, do we get any better? Oh, that's a little better data. Okay. All right, so like as it stands right now, guys, and hopefully all especially that new person, what was his name? Mark. Welcome, Mark, if you're watching the Daily Brief. I don't know whether I have it on. Do I actually have the Daily Brief? Video paused. Continue watching. What's that? That must be something else. YouTube's kind of changing stuff on us here, so things are constantly in flux. Oh, there we go. Okay, we are live. Okay. Yeah, Axel. Yeah. And I was wondering, like some of our diehards that are over in Europe, I didn't see them on the Daily Brief this morning. So you got an excuse, Axel, the time change. Axel's over there on YouTube going, oh, man, what the fuck, man? All right, so the point that I would just make is, so people that have been working with me a long time, does this look like a market that I would be aggressively shorting? The answer, unfortunately, is no. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a buy, right? Obviously, we want to see a W-type action. We came close, but you notice that this is lower low. I could see going forward over time that if they can turn the market back up through the top here, then hey, we actually got something to work with here. But I definitely can't subscribe to the newsletter of aggressively shorting in here. I know it's, we might have another dump here, but this looks very dangerous for me to be considering shorting. If anything, what I would love to see, and which actually makes a lot of logical sense, is just simply a counter trend rally up into reload zones. And notice, like this is why they like to use trend lines, right? Notice if we just do a simple connect the dots, boom, boom. Notice how that trend line basically lines up, and we can do it off the top. We can do it off of this high here. I like doing it off of the most recent market structure, but, tomato, tomato. The point of the matter here is, where is those reload zones? And they're actually up in this area up here. So I'm not really and if anything, also, I just noticed this here. We can go boobity boo there to there. That probably gives us a destination. right? Somewhere up in that area there. So the point that I'm trying to make here is that it's awfully tough for me to get too excited about, strapping on big sort of shorts down in here. This is not the area I want to be hunting shorts. At the same time too, though, you guys are all like, well, yeah, okay, we're going to the moon. We're going to the moon. Do you see any W's yet here? Does anybody see any W's? Are there W's here? Jonas says no. So as a result, at the absolute best, we just got to cool our jets. Now, as I said just a moment ago, what I'm actually very encouraged by the fact that they're dumping this ahead of this event. That, in my opinion, is actually good. So, off of that weekly chart, as Jonas said, there's no reason for investors to get super excited here. I think, off of the daily chart, right? Think of sort of like, swing traders. I don't mind the idea of, candle body lows as trade location. Traders got to trade. 78.6, inside bar reversal. And hopefully everybody can see the very polite little W that came in here. I think I prefer this inside bar reversal. Nice, sexy signal there. So, I can understand coming, I guess like mid-October. This, of course, was the Finex nonsense. I could understand like traders hunting longs here. I also don't like the fact, though, that, gee whiz, we all know who this guy is. Basically stopped the market in his tracks. Bang! Right there, eh? Good old mountain man. And then we've gone and actually put in a new M here. If anything, when I look at like an Ethereum chart, what I see is bottom end of the range. And top end of the range. So there is our playground right now. It's a pretty wide playground, eh? So 175 up to 2.25. And that kind of makes sense too. Does it make sense that $200 is sort of our big fat round number? And in essence, all this is doing is just swinging 25 bucks above the big fat round number, 25 bucks below the big fat round number. Does that make sense, guys? This happens a lot. I mean, it's stunning how often this happens. So in essence, all they're doing is they're just sort of playing ping pong around this big, fat, important psychological number. So I suppose I could make the argument that, the traders build your trading plan. If you trade reload zones, then basically, and you're a range trader, you're going to be looking for reasons to get long through green boxes, and you're going to be looking to get short through red boxes. The red box short was pretty darn difficult. It was just a quick stab into it. But this green box long, actually, I think looks really, really good. And then we might make the argument, just kind of like what we said on Bitcoin earlier, same sort of logic. Well, now we're starting to get reload zones within reload zones. And Brian, I love RLZs within RLZs. And then what's cool, if I'm not mistaken, oh, look at that. You heard me say just a few minutes ago, candle body lows as trade location. And you see this totally sick ass. Look at that. That's ridiculous. Oh, mercy. So there is 78.6. There are the candle body lows. And look at this morning's low. What do you think, Jonas? Do you think you could get to the point where you can see this in the market? Maybe it's unfairly pick on Jonas. It's a bit advanced. Alex, you're moving along in the education program. Do you think you can start seeing this? 78.6 candle body lows? Definitely. Good. Excellent. So really what we're seeing with this bounce here this morning, this shouldn't surprise anybody here at TRI. Now, obviously, you know, like Mark, you just joined. And welcome, Mark. I hope you're watching. Maybe you can say hi on YouTube, or if are you in the lounge here? But anyway, this is probably, you're looking at this, a new guy to trading, looking at this going, holy shit, how the fuck am I supposed to do that? But it will come with time. It comes with time and practice. It really does. But wow, what a trade location. Of course, it takes like balls of steel to be able to try and pull the trigger at that level. I'm not going to say this is easy. Hey, there he is. Hello, Mark Seals. Welcome. But, you know, with practice, with repetition, hopefully you'll start seeing this over time. I think that was one hell of a trade level. And as I said just a moment ago, I'm a little surprised that they're actually doing this ahead of the convention, right? Somebody said in the lounge here this morning, Alex says October 30th to November 2nd. So technically the convention doesn't start until tomorrow. Ironically enough, guys, this is actually, in my opinion, a good sign. This is actually good. This is a sell the rumor. And let's see, Mark, do you know how the other side of that conversation goes? If it's sell the rumor, what's the next line? And maybe actually you can help them over there on YouTube. Thank you, Joseph. Thank you, Jonas. Waiting, and keep in mind there's a YouTube delay, so I'm just waiting to see if Axel knows this answer. Axel, love you, babe. Anyway, so the point of the matter here is the other side of it, just as we've written in the lounge here a couple times. If it goes buy the rumor, usually it goes sell the news. If it actually goes sell the rumor, the other side of the conversation is buy the news. So ironically enough, the fact that this is happening ahead of that event, in my opinion, is actually a good sign. We'll see what happens. Only time will tell. It's Brian's opinion, right? Everybody knows what Brian thinks of people's opinions. Trade your goddamn setups. That's the only thing that really is of any value in this world. And as I said, you know, like if you were like, well, Brian, there's a W there. There's candle body lows for me to work with, and it's a 78.6. That's a level. I got to go. I wouldn't have a problem with that. And right now you'd be feeling pretty happy with yourself. At the same time too, you know, really trade location. I really don't like the idea of shorting here. Yes, the trade worked, but be damn careful here. This thing could easily just jackknife right up and wash these guys out as well. We'll see how it goes. You know, long and short of it here, as I had said earlier, Mr. Fun Strat, if emerging markets just falls right out of bed, Mexican peso collapses, Brazilian real collapses, Asian currencies are collapsing, the equity route continues, then it does make sense to me that crypto might be a bit soft. But I do find it interesting, very, you know, amuse-bouche that they actually did this dump ahead of that convention event. So we'll see what happens. The last thing that I'm just going to mention here this morning, I had on 3 different long proxies playing this potential bottom in crypto. We had one of them pop up, and the simple rule is we don't really want to see a winner turn into a loser. So Decred here is looking a little bit soft here. If we get back to my entry, which is only about $2 or $3 away, I will be walking away from this trade. I'll just take my original capital back and walk away. You can see the Verge tried desperately to rally, but has double topped here. We've got quite a bit of wiggle room in this trade right now. In fact, it's about 30% of the capital. So I might reassess this and decide just simply to hop off here. You can see where our average cost is. We're only down a little bit, but lots of M's. We're breaking trend lines here. So I'm kind of losing faith in the Verge. I'll keep the community updated with what I do there. I haven't gotten to the point where I want to just simply walk away. And the Zcash is still a little bit above where we bought it, and these lows are still working, so I'm not really too worried about Zcash right now. But just an update, I haven't squared the position on the Decred, but we're getting awfully close to where I may have to just simply hop off. All right, maybe we'll leave looking at the little ones in earnest for another day. I haven't really seen anything that's jumped violently out at me. There is quite a bit of red on the screen this morning, obviously. There's also a bit of green, so maybe just keep hunting. I'm actually quite encouraged to see there are names that are actually rallying. So as I sort of said with the broiler chicken show, just make darn certain that you got your open orders working. You never know when these things pump, and usually, I think like we had one yesterday that popped violently, and if you didn't have your open order working at your level, the market just never came back. So, there are names moving up. I think there's some fabulous money to be made here. The irony of all this, if you look at something like this folding coin, which I loved, and I've added more down here. I don't know. What do you think, guys? Is there a potential to double your money on a name like this? And really, Mark, this is what I need for you to see. It's going to take you a while to get to the point where you can actually trade this. But what I need for you to see is, kind of like narrow sideways channel we just did on Bitcoin. You can make the argument that this thing's had a narrow sideways channel all through here. And if you just simply buy here at 54 and are going to risk to 41, is there a potential that you could double your money here? If you bought it at 50, then in essence, to double your money is just simply a move back to there. Is that realistic? I think so. And then, of course, when the public will come back, you just never know, but they will. When the public comes back and they're all rah about this stuff, ironically enough, we actually use just a really simple 50% rule as sort of our keep us honest tool. We're not going to be shooting for new highs. We don't want to talk about moon. All we want to talk about is just a very natural, healthy 50% retracement of this very noticeable slide. Where does that take us? 357. So in essence, even right now, sitting at 61, that's more than a 5-bagger just to get back to the 50% rule. This is how guys make a lot of money in crypto, is they're actually really interested in taking the risk. Keep in mind, this is a risk business. Nobody said this was, not risky, but if you take appropriate risk, don't put too much money into any one play. Is it realistic to see a 5-fold increase on this investment down the road? And I think absolutely. But the issue here is you have to be patient and disciplined and just let your money work. Okay, I think I'm going to leave it at that. I've been talking for about an hour and a half here. Did anybody get any value out of anything I said today? Chris, see, now we've got one guy, Mark, you need to understand, and it's kind of funny that you're brand new to the site here, so I'm kind of picking on you today. But we do have a number of site members that are actually cheering for Bitcoin prices to go down from here. So please understand that there are going to be people on both sides of the equation. Yeah, I mean, I'm long a shitload of crypto, and I would love to see crypto go to the moon. And of course, us all driving Lambos and stuff. But we do have to be cognizant of the fact that there are people that are actually rooting for Bitcoin to go down here so that they can buy cheaper. And that's what makes a horse race, right? I mean, that's what's the fun about crypto. Well, the markets in general. So hats off to you, Chris, Change Society. There he is, right? And if we do get the dump down into 3,000 or whatever on Bitcoin, Chris is going to be happy as a pig in shit. And keep in mind too, TRI, just full disclosure, everybody should understand my number one priority coming out of that last bull was to take $500 and turn it into $100 grand. we take it that we did that. And of course, we went substantially beyond that because it just went nuts there last year. But I'm still sitting on a good $111,000 here. And if Bitcoin does dump into 2,000-3,000, that's when I'm going to start actually allocating that money back into the market. So in a weird sort of way, crypto goes up. All right, we win with the assets that we have on the books. Crypto goes down. All right, I can actually go in and buy some more Bitcoin in earnest. And I like playing that position where we can actually, you know, it goes up, we win. It goes down, we win. You know, it's a win-win all around. So, okay, I think I'll probably leave it at that for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the presentation. Hopefully, I've given you some good stuff to already finished after 30 minutes. No, Chris, remember the time change. I've been going here now for an hour and a half. So you get to go back and watch the video on 1.5 speed. And if anything, it's kind of fun listening to Brian on hyperspeed. Okay, I got to shut up, Earl, so I'll just keep going here. Alex, what do you think? Did we do a half-decent job here for these people today?
Like always, sir.
Okay, good. You feel like we did a good job here today?
Yeah, totally.
Excellent. Oh, that's good to hear. I mean, I'm just giving you guys the straight goods. It's exactly what I'm seeing. I'm not going to sugarcoat any of this shit. It just is what it is. So build your plan. And everybody, let's all collectively remind Mark what our #1 job is. And YouTubers, I want to see you write this up. I see there's a good 50, 60 of you over there. Let's all collectively remind Mark what our absolute #1 job here is as traders. All right. Thank you, everybody. Excellent. Typing it up. Excellent, Alex. Thank you, Alex, over there. Are you on both places? So, Mark, you're going to have to learn that our #1 job here as traders is never put yourself in a position where you can't come back and play the game again tomorrow. So, on that note, have yourselves a great day, everybody. Welcome aboard, Mark. It's awfully nice to see you. Make yourself at home. Ask lots of questions. Anybody else that's new that hasn't sort of chimed in and said hello. Squeaky wheel gets the grease around this place, and hopefully you all got really good value out of our presentation today. All right, guys. All the best. And a big bye for now.